Hi, everyone. This is Gary. Welcome to this week's live Path to Profit webinar. Welcome to all of you, no matter which program we're in. We got the folks from Investor Agent, excuse me, people from the students from the Flipping for Profits program, rental profits without the pain, turning rental problems into real estate profits, and wholesaling so everybody wins. So welcome aboard. Welcome aboard also to all the new folks. Lots of Virginians on this time. And also all the veterans, no matter where you are, Bahamas, Canada, anywhere in the U.S. We're going to get started here in just a moment, but a little bit of housekeeping. We are live and we are recording. So everything, this is totally unscripted. If you're new, we always have an agenda to follow because you tell me what that agenda is. So tonight's agenda is working with contractors, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit to go into other vendor relationships when it comes to investing for you and your clients. So some of you are investors, some of you are agents, and this is going to be a pretty interesting subject because working with contractors is almost always one of the most challenging things that we have in the world of investment real estate. So in any case, first things first, let me check the attendee list. So welcome aboard to all you guys. Bill Morrow, good to see you. Vicky, I know we've got a strategy call tomorrow, I believe. Pam, I know we've got two of them coming up, I believe, if I saw correctly. All right. Let's see, Michelle, Louise, Carl, Josh. Boy, good to see you guys. A lot of you are some veterans. Boy, some of you guys we haven't seen for a while. Well, that's pretty cool. And some new folks too. All right, so welcome aboard, guys. If you're new, a little bit of housekeeping. You'll notice that you're in mute mode by default, and that's because we can't have 100 people online talking at the same time. So what you do is you use the question box to type in your questions, and from time to time I will unmute you. I know it looks like a couple of you are only on your phones right now and not on the computer. That's okay. You'll get the recording of this the next day. So use the question box to type in your questions. In fact, let me go ahead and send you a message right now just to make sure everything's okay on your end. Everything looks like it's fine here. So can you see my screen and hear my voice? So you're going to have this come your way any second now. If you could do me a favor and just respond to that, let me know that you can see my screen and hear my voice. I'm going to bring up one of the two things we're going to go over tonight. So now you should see my screen that says Module 10, working with contractors. Okay, and everybody can hear my voice, so that's wonderful news. Now I'm going to turn on my webcam because everybody's been asking, can I actually turn on my webcam? So we'll do that so you can see my mug. Okay, hi guys. So I'm here in Fredericksburg, Virginia at my good friends Rick and Anna's house. Excuse me. Been known them for probably 10 years now, and they're investors and they're brokers, and they also have property management. So great place for me to stay. And I'm also speaking for them Thursday night. They have their own investor group that they run, which of course is one of our strategies. So they're living the model, guys. They're living the dream, and great message for all of you to follow. Great models to follow, and great people too. So, in any case, a couple things here. A lot of you are registered for the 3-day event, which is next weekend, Friday 27th, 28th, and 29th, particularly those of you who are in Virginia. We did just do one in Orlando last month. We were going to not do another one until probably August or September. But because of the feedback we got, which was pretty phenomenal, we're doing right here in Northern Virginia, which is ironic because I'm teaching here this entire month. So if you're in Virginia and you're coming, I look forward to seeing you there. We've got a couple people coming from other regions that were at the Orlando event. They wanted to come to this one. So obviously, once we want to accommodate everybody as best we can. We are up to about, I think, close to 40 people, and I think they've told us My Investment Services they're capping it off at 40. But we've also got a waiting list of people at the different market centers. So I'm going to try to push them to add 10 more spots. Okay. So just if you want to participate in that and you're not already registered, we should be able to accomplish that. So great feedback, great responses, and a great opportunity man, to really kick off your business. If you've been sluggish in execution, definitely come to the event, because we're going to go over content from all 5 training programs, and you get to network with other people in the programs, and also, of course, veteran agents, and we'll likely have some investors there too. So kind of a neat concept, and I'm glad we did the first one, because it really was a great, it's just pretty awesome. Even for me too, I really appreciated being there. So in any case, you should all get reminders about that coming up in the next week or so. Also, a little more housekeeping. Tomorrow, after every webinar, Beverly sends out a recording. Please look at her email, because she doesn't just give you the recording. She also gives you more information. So the upcoming webinar schedule, any updates to the training platform, any updates to the members area, content updates, any type of updates. She puts those out in that email once a week. Also, speaking of schedules, my schedule is this. So I'm in Virginia this week. I'll be in Virginia the beginning of next week, and of course the end of next week up in Fairfax for the 3-day event. It's at the Fairfax Marriott at Fair Oaks. It's called the Fairfax Marriott Fair Oaks. It's a Marriott. Marriott has a lot of brands, but this is not one of the other brands. This is the pure Marriott brand. Okay. So that's the actual location. I think you can find information on it online. My personal schedule is this. In North Carolina, I'll be in North Carolina next Tuesday and Wednesday and part of Thursday. At the end of April, when we're done with the 3-day event, I do have one more day in Charlottesville, Monday the 30th, excuse me. From there on, for the entire rest of May, I will be in North Carolina. Okay. I'm sorry, North Carolina the first half of May, South Carolina the second half of May. So if any of you are on here from the prior groups that when we taught in North Carolina and South Carolina 2 years ago and 3 years ago, look for the schedule online. Go on the events tab on My Investment Services. And if you want to come to any of those classes, a lot of you are doing that, which is great. It's good to see everybody again. Sometimes it's kind of neat because I get to get feedback. But also if you're doing a workshop, I can come speak at your workshop if you have one going on in the area where I'm going to be teaching. That's what I'm doing Thursday night. I don't mind at all. In fact, I love to do it. Otherwise, I go to a hotel room and eat by myself. So I'd rather be with you guys, even if we just get together and go to dinner, guys. Keep me in mind. I'd love to do that and go out there and break some bread with you. So in any case, that's the schedule. Now, tonight's subject is working with contractors. So let's just go ahead and dig in here, okay? Let me click on this so my view of myself is now hidden. So you can still see me supposedly, and I can't, which is good. So I'm just going to be myself. All right, working with contractors, really critical subject. And early on in my own investing career, it always was one of the things I struggled with the most. Turns out everybody else does too. I wasn't unique. We all have struggled with contractors at one time or another. I'm not knocking that group. That's not what I'm intending to do here. Great group of people that we desperately need. They're our partners in our businesses, whether we're agents or investors or both. We need good contractors. Now, what's interesting, when I first started my first investors group years ago, I started bringing in guest speakers, okay? Lenders, inspectors, appraisers, insurance guys, lawyers, of course, different people from different industries to support real estate. Well, one of my students asked the question, can we bring a contractor in? I thought, my gosh, they're going to crucify this guy. But I said, yes, I'll bring in a contractor. So I called one of my friends who was a general contractor. I've known him for years, used him on a lot of projects. He came in, and it was not hostile at all. It was actually one of the best meetings we've ever had. A lot of us investors and agents finally got to hear from the contractor himself. Why is it sometimes projects go over budget? Why do some projects go too long, or that they just go beyond the schedule, right? Well, there's some good reasons for that. And what happened is, it turns out going forward, a lot of the students said, I have a better relationship with my contractors now. I understand them better. I understand why things get behind and why things go over budget. Okay. So one thing I will caution on is this too, when it comes to contracting, a lot of us have wanted to do be our own general contractor in the past. That's fine for small projects. I would never talk out of that because we want to be frugal too. We want to be frugal with our projects and our hard-earned money. But when it comes to big projects, if you've got multiple things going on, like a new kitchen, a new roof, you know, new wiring, new plumbing, just, big projects, you definitely should have a general contractor. I know you might think, well, Gary, I can do that myself. And I used to do the same thing. Here's what I found out though. All the crews that you're using, you've got a crew for painting, a crew for plumbing, a crew for cabinetry, a crew for windows and doors, a crew for flooring, a crew for electrical, a clean out crew, landscaping crew, all different kinds of crews. Let's say you're on a big project and it involves plumbing and wiring, drywall, painting, what have you. And let's say early on, you're expecting your electrical contractor to come back and finish up some electrical wiring, the rough end, because the drywall guy is scheduled for the next day. Well, all of a sudden the electrical contractor says, I can't make it today, whatever the reason is. Child got sick, truck broke down, got behind on the last project. But what happens is now the drywall guy can't start. He might be okay coughing up a day, but remember, those guys get paid to work. They only get paid when they actually work. So they're not going to be too happy. But so let's assume that happens, which is going to happen. That drywall guy now then is going to delay the painter. Well, all of a sudden, if now 3 days goes by, you're still behind schedule. The painter says, I got to take on another job. The painter takes another job. That takes them 2 weeks. Now you're 2 weeks behind on the painting, which means now you're also now behind on your flooring because you don't want to put flooring in, till the end. Well, they're not going to be happy. They'll take on another project. You get behind on the flooring. Next thing you know, a 1 day delay can easily translate into 2 weeks and even months of delays in your overall project. Huge headaches, and we don't have time for that. These guys, they have multiple crews that they can work with. So if one guy gets behind, they can call another crew. Okay, we don't generally have that luxury. So I just want to paint the picture there so you understand why we take contracting so seriously. Okay, now when it comes to working with contractors, definitely, please get out your pens and pencils. I want you to write some notes down. Okay. First things first, I always had multiple general contractors that I work with. I didn't do this in the beginning because I didn't know any better. But over time, after doing thousands of transactions, I realized I need to have multiple crews, not just because I have multiple projects going on, but because sometimes they get busy. They can't take you on right away, and you don't want to wait a month to remodel a house. You want to do it like now. I also would do that because I would have them submit bids, not necessarily to have them outbid each other. I learned that game a long time ago. They'll get tired of that very quickly. Okay, I had multiple crews, again, because sometimes one guy is available now where the other guy's not. But more importantly, when they submit their bids, and this is what I want you to please write down, they will sometimes see projects differently. They have different viewpoints, different life experiences with remodeling. And I'll get ideas from one guy that another guy didn't propose to me. I might like the other guy's bid overall, the project plan, but yet I can incorporate ideas from the other person's bid. Okay, so just want to let that sink in for a second. One of the best reasons to get multiple bids is not because you want to get the best bang for your buck, but because you can get all kinds of good ideas by looking at different bids. Okay, and by the way, speaking of getting a bang for your buck, one of the things I want to caution you on is this, and I did it myself early on, is taking the lowest bid. I would definitely not recommend doing that. Matter of fact, I discourage you from doing that. You want to look at the bids and each one look at it independent of the other bids. Like, what exactly are you getting in that bid? What are all the things that they're doing? So you can see what you're getting, really what is going to be your best bang for your buck. Okay, not just because it's the cheapest, because it makes the most sense for your remodeling project. Okay, the time frame, the scheduling, the materials they use, everything. Which leads me to something else, and please write this down. Okay, now, I know this is being recorded. You'll get the recording. It'll be online for you forever. In the bids that I get from the contractors, I get them in two different ways, and this is what you want to write down. One type of bid, I will get the bid presented to me room by room by room, a breakdown of what they're doing in each room in the house, including basements, garages, everything. Okay. The other view I get is what I call the component view. In other words, I want to see by carpeting what that's going to take. Tile floor, that's a component. Electrical roughing is a component. Electrical finish is a component. Once the roughing's done, you got switches, light fixtures, things like that. Plumbing, you've got rough in and finish plumbing. Cabinetry is a component. Of course, painting is a component. All of those components, I want to see a bid also presented to me broken down by component. And what I would do is I would look at the component view, the bid based on components, and the bid based on room by room. And that gives me the big picture that I really need to make a decision. So that's something you definitely want to write down, guys. Now, let me just stop for a moment and check for questions, because I know I'm giving you guys a lot of stuff here, and very important stuff. You definitely want to remember this. These are things that over time, lessons learned and lessons applied very profitably. So let's check. We've got, okay, Cedric is asking 2 separate bids or 2 separate views. Yeah, Cedric, two views. So each bid, I want in 2 different views, okay? First view is by the room by room. Second view is component by component. So thanks for the question, for clarifying that, Cedric. Let's see. Okay, that was, everybody else was just saying hello, and I can hear you, I can see you. Well, thanks, guys. Oh, Fassel. Hey, Fassel, how you doing, buddy? How many contractors would you interview? So, Fassel, I would always do 3. Sometimes I do 5, but minimum 3. Now, have I cheated on that before? Yes. Sometimes I've gotten 2 bids, but usually it's because I'm unfortunately, like, in a hurry, so I will go for 2 bids, or I just can't get the guys, who are just too tied up, or maybe it's a small project. Small project, 2 bids might be okay. Small being under $5,000. Big projects where there's multiple big components, you definitely want to get at least 3 bids. That's the benchmark, guys. I would often get as many as 5 because I want to see where they are with other projects. Like, if they're not just working for me, right? By the way, real quick caveat. Over time, I did develop my own personal in-house crew, and I didn't use them to do big projects. I had them go around on like maintenance and repairs, but not minor stuff. Not like those guys didn't paint. If I had to put a roof on an old rental, for example, I would have them just go do that. They're basically like the Navy SEALs of contracting. I'd send them in, they could knock a job out quick, and don't have to tie them up with any other stuff. They're just doing one component typically. All right. And sometimes if I had a project go sideways, I would have them go in again, like the Navy SEALs or the cavalry. That's in the cavalry in to save a project. That's something you might want to write down. You can keep that for later. In the beginning, it's hard to have your own crew, because if you don't have a lot of properties, you're not going to be able to give them enough work to work only for you. It's hard to get those guys to work exclusively for you. They'll do it, but you gotta have a good relationship with them. You gotta pay on time every time, pay in full, no fluff, no gruff, no nonsense. And I would use those guys in a lot of different ways. In any case, back to this Fassel. The more bids, the better, because I could get more ideas. That was really the real reason. I learned it over time, and I'm getting a lot of good ideas from these guys, things I've never had even thought of myself. Okay. So let's see, we got another question coming in here. Okay, from Fassel again. Hey, Fassel, I look forward to seeing you next week, man. Hey, Fassel, did you set up a strategy call so we can go over the practicing the script? If you can let me know that. I don't think if you did, I just haven't seen it, but let me know. Okay, so Fassel's asking, will you always ask for written, and what happens if the contractors say I charge for written bid? Yeah, always get written bids, guys. And if I'm new to a contractor, sometimes they would say, well, I charge for a bid. I would pay them in the beginning, because I want to show them that I'm a good guy. I'm doing the right thing the right way, and I honor their time. But over time, Fassel, if I've worked with them a number of times, they would know that I would not pay for just bids, because they know they're going to get work from me. So they would submit bids knowing that, generally speaking, they're going to get a lot of work from me. So it's worth it for them to not charge me every single time. In the beginning, though, yes, I did actually pay for bids, right? Okay, let's see, Fassel, same here. Yes, for Friday, 11:30. just did. Okay, thanks, Fast. I'll look for that after the webinar tonight, 11:30 Friday. I want to make sure I got that written in. Matter of fact, I'm going to put Fassel right here so I remember to look for that. Thanks, Fassel, for doing that. Okay, so Vicky's asking, hi, Vicky, by the way, I know, Vicky, you and I've got a strategy call coming up. How do you find good contractors? Aha, I was wondering when you guys would ask that question. Okay, in the beginning, I want you to go ahead and join your local investors club, okay? Usually they're RIA, R-E-I-A, or ACRE, A-C-R-A, both under the same umbrella group. You can also find local investor clubs, like Rick and Anna right here in Fredericksburg have their own investor club, okay? They don't have to be part of a big major franchise system. But you want to join a local club, and here's why. They will, over time, start to attract contractors looking for work. And what happens is you can check out the contractors with the other investors and the other agents and get a feel for who's responsive, who's timely, who's reasonable with their pricing, who's able to keep projects on schedule more than others. And what happens when something goes sideways? What do? Do they stick with the project and figure out a way to make it work? Or do they abandon ship? You know, you want to, so when you join your local investors club, when you're first starting out doing this, guys, agents or investors alike, you'll get a lot of good contact information for good contractors. Always check them out. Always do your due diligence. You do the interview. When you interview, Vicky, here's what I would do. Ask for references, number one. Check out some references. And also ask them if they can provide you a portfolio of pictures and project plans from past projects. Let you see some of their old bids and the pictures of the property when it's done and things like that. The guys that will respond to that are the ones you want to work with, okay? By the way, I use the word guys interchangeably. I mean anybody that's basically of the human race, okay? And guys mean girls and guys to me. And the reason I mention that is I've had crews that were all female and even crews that were run by women and the men work for them. In the early years, guys, that was not that common. And I've known electricians and plumbers that said they can't work with that woman. Not like you're nuts because you're missing half the business. I mean, they're half of the population. One of my best clean out crews was all women. Man, they were the best. So, and again, so I use that term interchangeably. Sorry about the get off on a tangent there. So join your local club when you're first starting out. Also, when you're working with bankers, lenders, you can ask them also because they when they lend money on big projects, they're going to want to know who are the players in the project, and they'll sometimes check out the contractors, and they will ask for things like contracting licenses, contractors insurance, and what's called bonding or bonds. So please write that down. Certain types of work require bonding. Certain types of electrical work require an electrician to be bonded, okay? It's not our requirement. It's actually typically a code requirement in your area, in your municipality. They'll say, hey, well, you can only have insured and bonded contractors do your electrical work. So always check that out. That's one of your, we're going to go into team players here in a bit. One of your team players is your local housing inspector. We'll go over that more later. For right now, though, when you interview them, get their portfolios if they will give them to you, and also ask for proof of insurance and proof of bonding if your area requires them to be bonded, okay? All right, let's check for more questions here because we got to, I want to keep up with the questions because this topic we haven't gone over for a while, and it usually generates a lot of questions. Okay, let's see here. We've got Nabil. Hey, Nabil, welcome aboard, man. I know you're brand new. By the way, you sent an email, Nabil, the other day, and what you were asking for, the opt-in thing, I think they're going to change the wording on that page because you actually were already opted in at that point anyway. So that's why it took you to the next page because you were already opted in. I think you just worded it in a way that's confusing. Okay, so let's see. Nabil saying, I know this is outside the scope of discussion regarding contractors, but I wanted to ask about the neighborhood school report. I don't find that people invest in DC city based on school districts, but more so by neighborhoods. Would you suggest breaking that report down my neighborhood instead of school district for those types of markets? Good question, Bill. Yeah. In certain parts of US and Canada, we do the same report, but it's not based on school area. It can be based on zip code. Like, for example, New York City, 5 boroughs, right? The biggies, obviously, Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, right? In Richmond County. Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, all 3 have like 70, 72 zip codes. And the Manhattan has like 142 zip codes. And the way they do their school districts up there, if you look at a map of Manhattan school district lines, guys, it looks like a plate of spaghetti. You can't tell what's going where. And they actually bus students from Manhattan over to Queens. So in any case, it's better to use zip codes there. And up around Toronto, for the Canadians online here, and for Nabil, we used the area field. So Nabil, in Washington, D.C., because of the high propensity of private schools, Catholic schools, for example, you're not going to have a lot of interest in the public schools. That's true in a lot of big cities like that, by the way. So you can use the area field. There is a neighborhood field, but within MLS, there's a field called the area field. It's actually more precise, Nabil, so I would probably build it based on that just for Washington, D.C. When you get out into this Maryland and Virginia, you would probably want to use the school report based on school districts or high schools, okay? So a good question, and no problem that it's outside the subject. This is an open forum. You guys, this is your time, and my job is here to serve you best I can. So anyways, back to this, contractors. Let's talk about paying contractors. This is always a sensitive subject. Contractors that come to you right off the bat and say, I need a lot of money. I need money now to buy materials. I need to pay my guys. Be very, very leery. Chances are what they did was they got financially behind on the last project and they overextended themselves. And they need to make up lost ground and hopefully start on your project. You do not want to start off with a contractor in a deficit mode, okay? Now, having said that, and by the way, for those of you in the rental problems about the PAIN program, that's the module 10 I've got up right now. The one that's in the flipping program is actually module 7 and 8, okay? In the investoration program, we touch on this lightly. We worked with contractors. So in any case, back to contractors, back to paying. What I would do is for new relationships, I would give them money for material only. And that's only after I've established a relationship, all right? In the beginning, what I did was this. I would actually get the materials list from them, and I would submit that to Home Depot or Lowe's and have them get all the materials off the shelves ready for pickup by the contractor. And Home Depot or Lowe's would actually pay, I would pay for that myself, okay? I would pay for all materials. Once the contractors establish themselves with me, I will provide them funding for materials. But I always get the paid invoices. I want to see exactly what I paid for. And I would tell you there's a good reason to do this. I actually had this happen one time. I had a kitchen job going on, and the contractor brought in receipts because every week they've got to get some new material, stuff pops up, right? So I'm looking at the receipts, and I'm looking at this, and I see 4x4s. And I thought to myself, gee, I've never seen 4x4s in a kitchen before, let alone pressure-treated 4x4s. So I asked somebody, he said, oh, that was for the last project. And I said, Roger, I've already paid for that, okay? In any case, long story short is the guy ended up losing his position with me. But if you are providing funding to the contractor for materials, always get the paid invoices from the supplier, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever the case is, okay? Now, paying for labor, I know they're going to want it in advance. They all do. I stopped doing that years ago, okay? I only pay for work that's actually completed. And what I do is this. You can pay, the old way was to just pay for every component that gets done. You would do like a scheduled draw, just like a bank does when you do a new construction job. But I learned that can also cause problems, right? So they would say, hey, we're done with the footing, the foundation, and the framing, and you pay for that. Then you come back later to find out that they're not done with the framing, okay? Or they say, now we're done with the rough and electrical plumbing, and they put the drywall up, and you find out, well, they got to do more more plumbing. In any case, here's what I do. I would pay, and by the way, some of the guys always want to be paid on Fridays, right? They always want to be paid on Fridays. So please write this down. I only pay contractors on Mondays now, okay? Because guess what? On Fridays, they're just showing up to get their paycheck, right? And a lot of them will blow it on the weekends, right? And Monday morning, they're not there. So what I did is I said, I'm going to meet you 8 a.m., 9 a.m. on Monday morning. We'll go through what's been done in the last week, and I'll pay you for what's been done then. I don't care if the best football game ever was played the Sunday before. They will always show up on Monday to get their paychecks, okay? Now, so I would pay. So what I did is I combined two philosophies: pay on a regular basis, like a salary, but only pay based on work completed. So what I'm getting at is whatever was completed in the last week, even if it's a partial, the plumbing was partially done, not completed, I would pay them for what was done, but only up to that point, okay? So that's how I would pay. Now, what that means is I'm going to go visit the job sites on Mondays, no doubt about it. But I want you to write something else down. This is how you manage the contractors. I would also show up another day of the week unannounced, because guess what? I would show up on Monday morning, everything was spick and span. They would, stack up drywall against the wall that had a problem, and so I wouldn't see the problem. I discovered this by showing up unannounced. So always pick another day of the week to show up unannounced, okay? They didn't like that, but it was my property and I'm paying for it. I'm paying for the remodeling, so I won. Another thing I would do is this. I would also always go by a different, like in the evening or on a Saturday or Sunday when I knew they weren't working, so I could walk through the property on my own and not be influenced by the contractor or the workers, okay? I didn't do that every week, but I would definitely do it enough times that I could see things that I wouldn't normally see when I went in when they expected me to be there. So again, show up when expected, but also show up when you're unexpected, okay? All right, so let me check the question box here because I just gave you another good chunk of insight there. Okay, Nabil is asking, hey, thank you for the response. We'll look into this area field. You're welcome, Nabil. Thank you very much. Okay, so back to contractors, guys. I think I gave you enough information to work with and to get started and take notes on. And if you're not in the flipping program, you're not in the rental buying rentals program, which is rental profits without the pain. All of you can get those books for free by going to the silver level membership area. So you go into My Investment Services, click on members area here. Let's just go ahead and do that. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So a lot of you are kind of new. So we go to My Investment Services. All right. Click on members area. Okay. And down here, click on silver level membership area. Okay. Oh, it's going to make me, I don't know. I thought it is pre-filled. Okay. Usually mine pre-fills. And there you are. So silver level membership area. All kinds of good stuff out here. But down here, what I was getting to is Premier ebooks, guys. Click on that. Okay. And because you're existing students, I'm assuming everybody here is a current student. You get all of these books for free. You just click on them and download. Okay. And in there, you can get more insight into flipping, into buying rentals, managing rentals, wholesaling, the whole 9 yards. By the way, this members area, My Investment Services silver level, if you haven't noticed, it's chock full of stuff. I mean, my gosh, obviously the newsletter is out there. Newsletter is not like a typical newsletter, by the way. I always put something in there about travel. We also put in there content you can use, important updates. But check this out, cash buyers report. How many of you like to have the report on cash buyers in your area or the private lenders in the area? This is all available to you. All the webinars that we've ever done are recorded, cataloged by subject. You get to download these, keep them forever. Of course, all the ebooks, marketing techniques and docs, and analysis forms, calculators, and spreadsheets. All that stuff is out there for you. Okay, so let's go back to the webinar. Okay, so back to this. I think I've got enough on contractors. What I want to do now, guys, is talk about other people that you should be working with and building relationships with. Let me bring your panel back over and make sure everybody's okay so far. Let's see. Okay, we got a question from Rolando. Hey, Rolando, please share a couple moments on referral fees. I tell you what, Rolando, let's do this. If we can do that tonight, I'll do it. But that's actually a bigger subject than, say, school report. It would probably take, we could probably spend half a session just on that. So if we don't get to it tonight, Rolando, we'll definitely do it. Not next week. By the way, next week, we do have a special guest from Austin, Texas. You've all seen the announcement from Beverly. He's going to talk about buying tax lien certificates. He's pretty much a pro at it. And we have material on doing that in all 50 states and the Canadian provinces too. I promise I'm going to get that to you. We don't have it completely compiled yet. I mean, we have all the information gathered from all the states and provinces. We just have to basically construct it, compile it, and construct it for you. Well, this guest is going to speak about buying tax lien certificates in no matter where you are. So you definitely will be on next week. But Rolando, what I'm getting at is the following week is when we'll talk about referral fees. I know it's we've had some good questions on the subject, so I just want to make sure we give it the time that it deserves. Okay, Cynthia Griffiths. Hey, Cynthia, is it possible to buy a paper or hard copy of the books? Yes. If you could email Beverly, Cynthia, she can show you how to do that. I know I'm the kind of person, I want to hold the book too. I do have Audible, so I can listen to books when I'm driving. But when I'm reading, I like to actually read a book. I just something about it. The answer is yes, and they don't make a lot of money on that. It's not like it's a profit center. They do charge for shipping, the actual production of the book and the shipping. It's not a profit center, but there's overhead associated with that. But I think Beverly, I don't know how to do it myself, but I think Beverly can show you how to do that. Rolando says, okay, you're welcome. Okay, Gift, hey Gift, how are you? Do you have audiobook versions? Not of the books. I know we need to do that. It's not on this year's plan to do that, Gift. It is on the 2019 plan. This year is a pretty big year. We're actually going to be replacing the learning management system, which is called Digital Talk, what you're seeing now. We're going to be replacing that this year. That's a huge project, but it's to your benefit. It's a great program that we're purchasing to install for you. So that's the big one this year. Can you plan in the future to discuss commercial multifamily versus residential multifamily? Yeah, Daryl, definitely does. Let me write this down, guys. I just want to make sure I keep track of these subjects. Referral and commercial. So what you're talking about, Daryl, is non-residential multi, which of course is going to be retail space, office space, industrial space, things like that. We can definitely talk about that. Okay. All right, back to this. This information I'm going to give you now is actually in your material. It's going to be in the flipping book and in the rental book. But I want to highlight some of these relationships. One of them is an insurance company that you want to work with, okay? I don't like working with the big giant outfits. They're too difficult to work with when it comes to insuring rental properties. I'm a member of USAA, and I learned years ago, and I love the company. I've been with them since I was 16 years old, which is almost 40 years now. Great for my personal car, my personal home, different kinds of insurance. When it comes to rentals, I use a broker, and the broker I use uses a lot of Farmers Mutual insurance. In fact, probably 90% of the properties I've ever had were all insured with Farmers Mutual. They're just a very friendly company to work with. Liberty Mutual is also very good, but usually we'll have smaller local or regional type companies, like up in the Northeast. It's actually called Erie Insurance. They're out of Erie, Pennsylvania, but they're insured in Ohio, New York. I mean, they'll go all around, but that's where they're based out of. They're investor friendly. There are commercial insurance companies that will invest small rental properties. I think one of them was called CA. I can't remember what the CA stood for. I've used them, but really Farmers Mutual, man, they're good guys, okay? So in any case, line yourself up with an insurance broker and not just somebody who's just worked for State Farm. You're better off getting a broker, okay? And by the way, in your local investor club, you'll have an insurance broker. All right, lender, definitely. Always remember this. We really strongly encourage you to work with your community lenders when it comes to investing. Don't go to the big banks. I know I could get in trouble for saying this, but do not go with the big banks. Go with your community banks, who are preferably portfolio lenders, which means they do not sell their mortgages, right? They're better. They're just overall better relationships. I know I've had a lot of people tell me they're most grateful for that one piece of advice because it helped them grow and expand more rapidly by working with community banks. Property manager, all right? Boy, what a subject. If you are not managing now and you have multiple properties, or your clients do, you definitely want to locate a good property manager. Again, your local investors club, typically will be a couple there that you can get references on. Some of you guys over time, I want you to build your own property management company. That's what I did. I mean, that's what Rick and Anna did. And I tell you, it's a huge source of leads and a big source of profits too. So property manager, accountant who can do your annual tax return. I like to use accountants who've already worked with investors or have invested themselves. You also want a bookkeeper over time. I know a lot of you are doing your own bookkeeping now, because that's what I used to do when I first started. But I would look for a bookkeeper fairly soon in your business. They could do in a matter of minutes what would take us hours to do, okay? Bookkeeper or a handyman. It's good to have a handyman, and over time you can have that handyman work directly for you personally, just to go out there and be Johnny on the spot, replace doorknobs, replace light fixtures, outlets, just basic, replacing, plumbing fixtures, just basic stuff that you don't have to have a contractor for. But somebody that's qualified, knows what they're doing, got their own truck, their own material, their own tools, and you can pay them like an hourly rate as an independent contractor. Great resource to have. Handyman, somebody for grass and snow if you're up north, or grass and dirt if you're southwest, if you have grass. So that's basically lawn care and snow removal. Pest control. Boy, I tell you what, you can save a lot of money if you can get a contract with a pest control company for all of your units. In Florida, that's real big because they got bugs in Florida that are as big as cars sometimes. And I've known people that have had pest control contracts for as few as $5 a month per unit. That's a bargain. Pest control, animal control. My gosh, raccoons, squirrels, chipmunks, believe me, if you've ever had a raccoon, you know what a big problem is. If you had squirrels, obviously they can do some damage. Birds, snakes, rats. My gosh, list goes on and on. Align yourself with a company, again, typically through your local investor club. Now, I used to use companies. I didn't want them where they just flat out killed the animal right there on the spot. What I would do is I'd have the ones that would trap them, like the raccoons, for example, and then drive them out. They would go out like an hour away. They'd collect all the raccoons for the week, and then once a week they go out into the wilderness and dump them all off, right? And 3 years later, they find a way back to your house. Just kidding. But that was my personal preference. If you're not a tree hugger or an animal lover like I am, just have them take care of them the good old-fashioned way, which is kill them, right? Because if they're a nuisance and they got rabies, you don't want them around. Okay, a company that does tree removal and branch trimming, right? An arborist. You definitely want a tree company working with you. They're kind of a unique company. They generally have a cherry picker that comes up. A guy can show up and get up there with the chainsaw, do his job, and move fast, right? Don't hire a handyman to do tree work. Hire a real tree company. Let's see. Local. How do I want to say this? People in the community that you need to be familiar with. Okay, your local judge. All right. If you ever have landlord-tenant cases, you're going to be going in front of the magistrate. You always want to be prepared. And the best way you can build a relationship with them is to be prepared. Come in with your documentation. Don't ever lose your temper in a courtroom. Always maintain civility and be calm and stable. Or you want to earn that judge's respect. So over time, when you're going in there, they'll look more favorably upon you in your cases. Police, definitely get to know some of the local police. Believe me, a lot of their calls are domestic calls. A lot of them are on rental properties where the neighbor's dog is too loud. But regardless, get to know the police. By the way, they also make good investors. Um, you're going to need an attorney. And I have my own personal attorney now, but that's because I can over all the years I can actually do that. In the beginning, you're going to have to pay to play basically. So I have one guy. He's on a retainer is what he is. I've known him for 20 years. He's on a retainer. I can call him anytime I want, and I don't get a bill for it. Okay, but I do pay a retainer. Most of the cases you're going to have to pay for play, but again, you can get the good attorneys from going to your local investors club. Housing inspector, definitely get to know your housing inspector. When they show up, you show up with a cup of coffee and some donuts, right? I'm not kidding around. Seriously, show up. If you come up with 2 cups of coffee, one for that person, one for you, and some donuts to share. Also go to the office and find out. Say, look, I'm going to be buying a new building here. Have you had in this building show up on any of your reports? And they'll tell you, right? Or you can have them come look at the building with you and say, hey, Garrett, from a housing perspective, this is what we're looking for in occupancy right now, and they'll tell you what to do to the property. And it won't cost you a dime, and you build a relationship with that person. They'll go to bat for you when the need arises. Housing inspector, occupancy office. There's almost always one and the same, but sometimes they're broken up into 2 different offices. Occupancy has to deal with what they actually allow as far as occupants go in your properties. Related family members, unrelated family members, is it they consider it a boarding house? Is it, a low density area, high density area? Residential, the codes are R1, R2, R3, R4, which is number of units, residential 1 unit, residential 2 unit. You will find out what the occupancy codes are within the zoning, right? Speaking of zoning, also the zoning officer, you want to get an idea what the plans are going down the road for your area. They'll give you the plans literally next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years out even. Okay. Also, another thing you can do, guys, is spark up a business agreement with your cable internet phone company, right? If you have multiple apartments, okay, you can actually work an agreement with them where if they install Verizon or Comcast or AT&T, whatever it is in your area, they'll give your tenants a break on the price. You don't want to get a kickback on this. It's not what you want to do. You just want to make it so that you can make that a selling feature when you're leasing apartments. Say, look, if you lease this apartment, Verizon is going to give you a break on installation. Right, so that's another relationship you can have. Clean out crew. Boy, if you ever had somebody vacate one of your units and they leave all their stuff there, that is a huge problem. So nobody wants to deal with that stuff either. I mean, it's their clothes, their food. Who wants to deal with that mess? Well, there's crews called clean out crews. They often will show up with a big flatbed truck or a dump truck and clean out your property for you. You don't have to deal with dumpsters. You don't have to deal with the landfills. You just pay these guys to show up. And it's usually cheaper in the end to do that, and they're fast to get it all done in one day. You can find these through your local investor club. Clean out crew, an actual cleaning crew, someone to come in, and let's say someone moved out and you had to repaint and do some work that created dust and dirt. You want to have a cleaning crew work for you on a regular basis to come in and clean your units when they're vacant, like on the spot within a few hours and on that day. Another one is what we call our turnover crew. This is a specialized crew that when it comes to rental properties, when somebody moves out, you want to make sure your places are not sitting there vacant, okay? So when someone notifies me they're going to move out, what I do is I go ahead and market the unit for rent, okay? And in my leases, by the way, I have the tenants agree that I have reserved the right to show their unit to other prospective tenants at the end of the lease term, okay? And they can't fight you on it. So what I would do is show the units while they're still occupied. And when that person moves out, I want the next person to move in within a day or two. You want to have a turnover crew be able to come in and literally within 24 hours, clean, do touch-up painting, everything that needs to be done minor repair work. They're a highly specialized crew that have multiple people with different disciplines, and they will do a quick turnover on that rental unit. Okay, that's something you'll develop over time if you start buying a lot of rentals, or you have you're going to manage rentals for others. Okay, you definitely want a turnover crew that can move like lightning quick, and they actually work for you, by the way. This is the kind of crew that you're not contracting. They're independent contractors, but you have an agreement with them that they work exclusively for you. All right. In any case, I probably should stop there because that's a lot of relationships. Let me go to the question box and see how we're doing here. Okay, so Rolando says, okay, gift. Okay, audiobooks, we talked about that. So Daryl, okay, can you plan in the future? Talk about commercial. All right, we covered that. Pam, hey Pam, how are you doing? Good. I know Pam, you and I got a couple calls coming up. Can you provide some directions on setting up LLCs? Yes, we actually have in the material, Pam. If you're in the investor agent program, so if you go on to My Investor Services where the ebooks are, go ahead and look into the rental one, look in the flipping one. I think there's we talk about LLCs and the different entities, C corps, S corps, LLCs, partnerships, things like that. We go into that detail in that material, Pam. What I will tell you is this: I just made up my own word. Fundamentally speaking, okay. Everyone here on this call should have an LLC when you're investing in holding properties. You should also have another LLC for your flipping. So when you're flipping houses, don't put them in your own name. Put them in an LLC name. And when you're buying rentals, again, that would be a separate LLC. Now, my personal rule, Pam, is this. When it comes to buying and holding rentals, I never wanted to have more than $1 million at any one time in holdings in any one LLC. So I'd have multiple LLCs. I think I had at one time like 12 different LLCs. But that way, I'm not killing myself with paperwork. Like, you don't want to have an LLC for every single property. I know people that do that, but that's a lot of paperwork. A lot of tax returns have to be filed. That's very expensive. So I just basically spread my eggs across multiple baskets by having all my holdings not exceed $1 million in any one LLC. When it comes to business LLCs, you definitely want to be unique, one LLC per business. So if you're going to have property management, that should be its own LLC. Brokerage, its own LLC. Title, if you have a title business, which is one of the ones I used to have, had its own LLC. Appraisal business, lending business, everything. So back into the case of properties, you can have multiple properties per LLC if you're renting. If you're flipping, just have one LLC because you're generally not going to have more than a few houses you're flipping at a time anyways. But again, for businesses, definitely one LLC per business. So Pam, you're in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, you can fill out what's called a PA 100. You can go to the Bureau, Pennsylvania Bureau of Incorporation, something like that. You can Google it and do your own filing for $125. Now, if you've never done one before, Pam, and you and Tony are doing this together, even though you're a married couple, we highly recommend that you pay an attorney to do your first LLC because LLCs are easy to get into. Everybody's excited, you're going to make a lot of money. But what you want to do, responsible investors will always look at the exit. What's going to happen when it comes time to exit the LLC or sell the properties in the LLC, or let's say one of you becomes incapacitated, okay? The reason you have an attorney is they're very good at identifying all the what-if scenarios. What are all the things that can happen in an LLC, particularly with your loved ones? I've had people tell me, I don't need an LLC. Johnny's my best friend. I've known him since I was 3 years old. What could go wrong? Believe me, things can go wrong. Murphy's Law says if it can happen, it will happen, just a matter of time. So my theory is this: if you really love that person, do the most loving thing you can do in business, which is document everything thoroughly in your what's called your operating plan, part of your LLC. Protect the relationship first. Your relationship is first before any profit you make. Okay, profit is fleeting. You'll learn over time when you start making a lot of money. It's not the money that's the important. It's the time, the experiences, and the relationships that are important. Okay. So in any case, a little bit on LLCs there. I appreciate the suggestion, Pam. So I'm going to write that down. We'll cover LLCs. Okay. And if also real quick, if you go into the members area, look on the recorded webinars, you can scan through them and you'll see there's different recordings, right? Different webinars we've done in the past to go over the LLCs, right? Probably 2 or 3 of them. So in any case, appreciate the question. Let's see the next one here from Bonetta. Hey, Bonetta, brand new, welcome aboard. Will we get copies of these module lessons? Yeah, depending on what program you're in, Bonetta, once you complete the first module, you're allowed to open up the second module within, you have to, I think they make you wait 7 days, but it's all, so Bonetta, it's all on that digital chalk learning platform. Beverly gave you the login and password, you log in, download the first module, do the module, you get marked as complete, and it'll give you access to the next module 7 days later. You got to wait 7 days between modules. It's the same format for every training program. The reason is we want you to actually learn and implement before you do the next module. In other programs, Bonetta, you have to be in those other programs. We would recommend that you stick with the program you have right now, get it up and running, get some money coming in. Then you can entertain the thought of any of the other training programs, okay? And those modules, by the way. The books and all the content for all the marketing and all that analysis, that's available to everybody on that silver level. You got that no matter what, carte blanche, no matter what program you're in, okay? Okay, this is Mike Lucas. Hey, Mike, long time no see, man. What would a turnover crew typically cost for a 24-hour cleanup? Man, Mike, that depends on the project. I mean, if you got a little 1-bedroom apartment or efficiency, you can, and depending on the scope of the project. So if it's just simply cleaning, I mean, you're talking less than $100. But if you're going to paint, let's say you got to paint one complete room and clean, you're looking at probably $200 to $300 to paint a room. If it involves other maintenance and repairs, well, you can imagine the cost goes up and up and up. So that's a tough question because everyone's going to be different. Now you can have a price sheet for each component, like so much you can say, I'll pay so much per room to paint, I'll pay so much per room to clean. But remember, when these guys go out there, Mike, they don't know what they're going to find. By the way, you have them take pictures. Always have them take pictures before and after when they submit their invoice. But they may get in there and find that they got a pile of stuff to get rid of, and they got to clean the carpet, and they got to paint, and they got to clean the tub in the kitchen. Just there's no way to give you a ballpark figure. It literally is case by case. But I would always have them take pictures up front, pictures on the back end, submit the invoice, and you can question things when you see them. And over time, you'll develop a knowledge of what it takes to do certain things. Okay, good question, by the way. That's a good question. Okay, that was Mike. Let's see, Daryl. I have a workshop on the 19th of April, multifamily. I will schedule an appointment with you afterwards. Yeah, definitely, Daryl. Let's do a post event wrap up so we can kind of critique it and see how we're doing there. Cedric says, "Amen." Probably about protecting your loved ones. That's right, Cedric. Okay, let's see. This is Pam. I remember you said about setting them up out of state. Could walk us through setting them up yeah. So Pam, what Pam's talking about, guys, is for my own personal business now. I set up LLCs in Wyoming. Number one, Wyoming does not have a state corporate income tax. Okay, so any money that you earn, as long as now on rental properties, by the way, guys, you can own rental properties in Pennsylvania. You can have an LLC in Wyoming own the properties in Pennsylvania, but I'm pretty sure Pennsylvania, or if you're in Virginia or Florida or Georgia, or wherever you are, California, whatever state you're in, a province, if you own properties in that state generating revenue, they're gonna figure out a way to tax you. Okay, setting up a Wyoming LLC is simply a way to provide more protection to you as the owner, more liability protection, and some anonymity, right? I don't want all my tenants knowing everything I own, for example. So I set up the LLC in Wyoming because there's no state income tax for corporations there, and it's a very favorable state for ownership. The laws are very owner favorable, okay? So that's what Pam's talking about. So I'll share with you, Pam, my own personal experiences. I'll share with everybody what I actually did. So great subject. Bonetta says silver. Yeah, so Bonetta, when you registered, when you signed up for the program, Beverly gave you an initial email with access to the digital chalk learning platform. And then within a day or two, you should have got another one from TEO. It's one of our virtual assistants that gives you access to the My Investment Services members area. In our case, we call it Silver. I'm a Silver member too. And then you also get access to the community site. So for all the new agents and new investors on the programs, you definitely want to go to the community site, which you access through My Investment Services through the Silver level membership area, and set up your profile. Do not wait to do that, because we're starting to bring investors into that platform, and they're looking for you. If you're not on there, they won't be able to find you. So you definitely want to do that. That's all in Silver, Panetta. Let's see. Rolando says, let's explore future sessions leveraging an existing rental property for acquisition, another one. Okay, we'll do that, Rolando. Let's put down here, leverage existing properties to buy more. No problem. Good subject. Okay, Nabil, hi Nabil, is asking, are you able to get me in touch with some of the others from DMV who recently signed up? I remember you recommended we set up a group meetings. Thank you. Yeah, so I think you were in the Nabil, in the Reston, you're in Ann Beck's Market Center. If you can email Beverly, she's the one who sent you the initial email, the welcome email. Let her know you need the contact information for the other agents in the area, not just in your market center, but well, start with your market center, and she'll give you the names of the people in the program. I think there was probably 4, maybe 5 people that signed up from your market center, and we'll probably team you up with another market center, because there was a husband-wife team. The husband came the next day to another market center. So email Beverly, she'll get you in touch with them, and you guys can start your study group. Okay, Mike Lucas says, thank you. Gian, hi Gian. How to borrow money from 401k without penalty. Okay, let's see that. 401k. Well, we got lots of subjects to coming up here, guys, so I appreciate you sharing your what it is when you talk about. So thanks, Janet, for that. Matter of fact, we'll do a session just on money. Janet, we'll do a whole life policies, 401ks, self-directed IRAs, Roth IRAs. We'll have a whole session just on that. How about that? Probably like in May or June, maybe. Okay, guys, great night. I knew this was going to be a good subject. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't covered this in a while. People haven't asked for it, but it came up in recently, and a lot of requests. So thank you for giving us your input on what we cover in these sessions, as these are your sessions and you get to decide what we talk about. So God bless you all. I look forward to seeing you all end of next week in the Marriott at Northern Virginia for all your Virginians. And I know some of you are coming down from New York and New Jersey, even Maryland and Pennsylvania. I look forward to seeing you again. I love doing this. I hope it shows, and I appreciate the opportunity to teach you and instruct you and serve you. So God bless you and your families, and we will see you next week on the 24th with our special guest to talk about buying tax lien certificates. So get ready to learn and earn. All right, you guys take care and have a good night. Bye-bye.